Anyone else find it a bit creepy and weird that throughout the whole chapter, for the most part, Kaguya barely says anything, and she's just crying there? She looks like some grudge-killing bitch. It's like, why are you so creepy, Kaguya? So for the most part of this chapter, while I was reading it first time around, second time around, I was kind of scratching my head like, huh? Because it was basically taking a lot of the past events and basically giving credit to Black Zetsu in place of Madara, because at first we thought, okay, Obito was the brains of it. No. Madara wasn't the brains of Obito. And, it just kept on going from there. It was kind of like one thing was after another. Okay, this person was the one behind everything. No, this person was behind that person. And now we find out that Black Zetsu was behind everything. And I'm going to talk about everything that, for the most part, Black Zetsu was saying. But I was just curious because we've seen in chapter 606, I actually went back and looked, that Madara created Black Zetsu right in front of Obito. He grabbed the white Zetsu and turned him into Black Zetsu as well and said, this is my will. So I'm wondering, at that particular point, had Black Zetsu already infiltrated Madara's body? And that's how basically he was able to turn into that white Zetsu right there and like have a form, because prior to that, we know that Black Zetsu, based on his story, he said he's been around since the Ashura and Indra days. He's been around for, a very long time. So how would Madara have been able to create Black Zetsu right there unless he was already inside of Madara's body at that particular point? That's the only way it would make sense, that basically he infiltrated Madara's body and then was able to manifest himself onto that white Zetsu. And I see what Kishimoto was trying to do with this one for the most part. I don't know if he had this plan for a long time. At the very least, it's been a few months that he had this Kaguya thing going, because it was been like, what, about half a year or so, maybe less than that, I'm not sure, since he mentioned Kaguya Otsutsuki and, started slowly bringing her into the story. But with this chapter, he kind of made her a lot more relevant than just, oh, this is the sage's mother, and she had some connection towards the Jubi and the tree, because with this chapter, you find out that her son, because Black Zetsu claims to be her son, even though he's like, he was just basically manifested after near death with her, so that way he could continue to revive her at some given point. He basically is like the reason for everything, and that was kind of, I think, Kishimoto really, well, not everything, but for the most part, a big majority of things behind even Madara. He had Madara believing, yeah, I'm doing this, this is me. But it was really Kaguya's will all along, and who knows, maybe at that particular point with Madara being so goddamn old, he even had Madara fooled, like Madara was thinking, yeah man, this is my will, but maybe he didn't realize this wasn't his will all along, it was Kaguya's. And it actually does make sense that Black Zetsu would have been inside of Madara at that particular point, because Madara turned into Kaguya at some point, so Black Zetsu was already in Madara, and that's how it makes sense that basically he was able to manifest Black Zetsu there, even though Black Zetsu been around for years, even prior to Madara's existence. And I think this chapter nicely did basically what it set out to do, and that's make Kaguya more relevant to the story's history overall, because again, you see how this entire arc has been like, okay, this person was responsible for everything, and it was like, throwing Kaguya in there, it's like, okay, what does she have really to do aside from, she has a connection to the Jubi? But when you add in all these things that it was basically Black Zetsu that was doing it in place of her will, then it makes her more, okay, shit, so she has been relevant for a really long time. And I always talked about that chapter, and I was finally glad that I was right, that there was somebody on that cliff that day when Madara was basically about to die against Hashirama, and it was Black Zetsu up there all along. So I'm glad that I was finally confirmed that I'm not crazy. There was somebody on that cliff. And we also finally find out how Madara survived that day against Hashirama. It was basically pretty simple for the most part. I thought it would have been a little bit more complex than that, but he had a delayed Izanagi in his eye and was able to revive afterward using delayed Izanagi to warp reality, which Izanagi in and of itself is just a mindfuck that, it warps reality, so he was technically dead there, but the delayed reaction of it was able to revive him and bring him back to life, which it was freaking weird as hell. He bit Hashirama's meat and then he puked it out. So fucking weird. But after that, so basically he was immobile all that time doing that, so he probably would have been better off not shoving that piece of Hashirama's DNA inside of him. He wouldn't have lived as long, but he was basically immobile after that. He had to rely on these Zetsus, which also the whole Zetsu theory was cleared up as well within this chapter, because I remember I was saying, wasn't Madara supposed to be the creator of White Zetsu, but White Zetsu was actually a product of the Mazaku being, revived, as well as the Rinnegan when he got all that. So I'm glad that that was cleared up as well. I definitely said this chapter, one of the things it did is it took potential plot holes and kind of was like sealing them up, and also just giving more relevance once again to Kaguya, to the overall story. One of the things this chapter I felt definitely kind of left out a bit is, and I'm wondering when Kishimoto's going to do it, because he's not going to bring up this character and keep mentioning him only to not have him part of the story. Hamura, the Sage of Six Paths brother, he was mentioned in the story, but we don't find out what happened to him. It's just kind of like, yeah, he was there and he helped to seal away his mother. You know, they're bad children. But what happened to him? Because then right after that, we see Hagenomo training his children, Asura and Indra. So it really makes me wonder, where is Hamada? I'm pretty sure that Black Zetsu is not Hamada, because the way they were talking, you know, I hate you too. That's not Hamada, obviously. So where the hell is Hamada? Is he still alive at this point? I doubt it. So what happened to Hamada? Or is it just that he's going to keep being mentioned but not being relevant, which I just don't see it being that way. I believe that Hamada is definitely going to have a role at some given point that is very vital to the story, because he's just been mentioned too many times. Just like when Kaguya started getting mentioned a lot, I started thinking, I'll never know. It's a possibility. Maybe she will at some given point show up. So it's safe to assume that Hamada might show up. I was wondering why the whole time Naruto was allowing her to suck up their chakra, if he could have done all along, you know, just remove the Black Zetsu from them. Because it's just like, oh no, what are you doing? And it's also making me wonder, how the hell are they going to stop her? Like, they said we need to use that jutsu, because even the Susanoo ain't doing shit. In the beginning of the chapter, we see that even Sasuke's Susanoo ain't doing nothing. The only thing they could do is pretty much they have to use some sort of sealing jutsu to seal her away. And I'm imagining at this point, since, you know, they continue to help Obito, no, Obito, you know, and now he put them in a safe place or whatever, I'd imagine that Obito is going to be the way they get out of there, using his eye, going to the other dimension, and then going back home. If he survives this whole thing, I'm guessing that that's how they're going to do it. But going back to Black Zetsu, I feel like it just seems so weird, because again, we thought Madara was, you know, the head of a lot of these things, but to find out that Black Zetsu changed the stone tablet, helped Kabuto bump into the corpse of Madara. He needs to give us a flashback to see why is it that she hates her children so much. We know that basically they sealed her up, but seemingly it's basically like they went against their mother at some given point, because judging from what we found out in this chapter as well, that she was basically a part of the Jubi, it basically seems like she became a ruler at some given point and then was just completely absorbed by, I guess, the Senju tree, and then that's what formed the Jubi, and that's why they had to stop it. So their mother, in sense, was the basically core of the Jubi, and was basically the thing pulling the Senju tree to want the chakra back. It wasn't the Senju tree, it was Kaguya all along, which to a certain degree, this chapter felt a little bit confusing and a little bit too cluttered. It's kind of like, so Black Zetsu was involved in everything, and Kaguya's connection to this and that, and Madara really didn't. I was just kind of like, we could have spaced these things out, because it definitely felt just like way too much information just attacking you at once. But overall, with all the stuff that we learned regarding just who was truly pulling the strings behind everything, it was for the most part a good chapter. I just felt like it could have been spaced out a little bit better. And also, it just kind of made me wonder, like, why did Naruto stand there the entire time with Sasuke if he could have pretty much just, you know, smacked Black Zetsu off of him? And it also makes me wonder what jutsu they're going to have cooked up so that they can finally put Kaguya down. So ultimately, I'm going to give this one 7.5 out of 10. It was good. I would have liked the information to be explained a little bit differently, and ultimately it just came across as confusing and a little bit weird regarding just Black Zetsu being the one pulling all the strings and his connections and everything. It's like, Black Zetsu? And judging from the way Kishimoto is making things as if Madara really wasn't the one pulling the strings, my hope regarding Madara returning at some given point and being the main villain again is slowly withering away, unfortunately. But let me know what you think regarding this chapter. What do you think about Black Zetsu basically being responsible for majority of the things in this universe? I mean, he was responsible for even the way the Uchiha acted, changing the tablet to the infinite Tsukuyomi will change the Uchiha, or will save the Uchiha. You know, he was responsible for Kabuto bumping into Madara's body. He was responsible for a lot of things that make you think any less of Madara, because we previously thought that really Madara was like the horizon of everything. And just your overall thoughts of the way things were handled with this chapter regarding just finding out like Kaguya's connection and Black Zetsu basically being like, I don't want to say son. I feel like son is just a bad word because she already has 2 children. Just your overall thoughts of this chapter and Kaguya Otsutsuki. Do you feel like this chapter made Kaguya Otsutsuki more prevalent and made her better as a villain? I would definitely not say that she's better than Madara as a villain, because even though it was her will or her son or whatever the hell you want to call Black Zetsu that was pulling the strings, for the most part Madara rolled that wave, and it was Madara's strength that made a lot of these things happen. So I still won't say as of right now that Kaguya Otsutsuki is anywhere near as good a villain as Madara yet. We need more time. We need to see what she's gonna do. Just imagine Kaguya pulls a Frieza and picks up Kakashi or Sakura and blows them to bits. I doubt it'll happen to Sakura, but that'd be fucked up. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.